Millions of men will cross these beaches, but the arrival of one man in particular a few days later has a special meaning. The first resistance hero of France, the architect of her victory, sets foot on the soil of his homeland for the first time for 4 years. At first he was just a distant voice and a symbol, but suddenly he becomes a real living presence. Another few days and the Leclerc division arrives. Following the African campaign, these men moved to England, where they underwent hard training and waited patiently for weeks for the great day to arrive. Just landing is not enough. They have to touch the ground with their hands. The division is now fully armored. Soon all these tanks will be striking out across France. They will enter the provinces whose names they bear. What a journey, and what a long way round from Chad. The hopes of so many years come to fruition in an instant. Aircraft fly over our columns continuously, but this time they are our aircraft. The division began its advance by breaking out towards the south at Avranches on the 8th of August. It will cover 200 kilometers in a single leap to close the Falaise Gap. Soldiers without uniforms join their comrades to guide them along roads which they themselves have cleared. The Germans have left snipers behind. They hide. They camouflage themselves. They are still killing our men. The German artillery is still firing back. But Leclerc enters Alençon. Liberation will not be complete until the population has been cleansed of enemy collaborators as well as the enemy itself. The French are not bloodthirsty. They simply bring the traitors to justice. The enemy tries to check our advance by flooding, fire, and destruction of every kind. He's playing for time until his secret weapons arrive. The V1 is already in action. Homes are being destroyed in London.
À Londres, les maisons s'écroulent.
France will be held to ransom until the bitter end. They move, but it is our furniture which goes with them. The Germans have abandoned any notion of chivalry and are simply pillaging. Jewelry, which will help them to survive later on when they are poor Germans. After so many other famous towns, Chartres now has the honor. Happily, its cathedral will be spared. There are more and more prisoners. Collaborators are getting thin on the ground. The division has split into two columns. One passes through Rambouillet and across the Toussus-le-Noble plateau to attack the German strongholds at Trappes and Saint-Cyr. What a disappointment to be wounded on the threshold of entering Paris. national insurrection is an essential part of national liberation. After overrunning the enemy defenses at Croix de Berny and Antony, the second column enters Paris through the Porte d'Orléans. Suddenly, a miracle takes place. Pictures are only pictures. They cannot express the profound feelings of the heart. And now the names of towns have been replaced by the names of streets, squares, districts, and monuments. Apart from a few fires, Paris is spared. The crowd has rushed madly to meet the tanks, and the last traitors take revenge for their defeat. The Parisians must be made to pay for their joy and their deliverance. But it's all over. Paris is free and nothing else matters. At Montparnasse, General Leclerc cannot yet enjoy the sight. For him, Paris is still a place on the map and the name of a battle. The militia will not betray Germany. Mopping up in Paris will take several days, and mopping up is the word. The occupiers have been kicked out. The Free French enter liberated Paris. The members of the National Council of the Resistance, at whose call Paris rose in insurrection, share the honor and joy of this triumphant day with General de Gaulle. The Germans are conducting a headlong fighting retreat. For them, holding on and consequently not allowing themselves to be surrounded are crucial. Allied aircraft, particularly the new rocket planes, are harassing their convoys. These will no longer do any harm. Nor will this. But there are others all over France who will still have the time to make some names famous for the wrong reasons. It seems that there are claims that the facts have been exaggerated. There have been claims that this was propaganda. It was. German propaganda. Terror. And fire which fails to purify. Here are the facts. France pays a heavy price. It is not possible to make this war into a continuous narrative. Too many events are taking place at once. Thousands of miles away, Tokyo burns while the battle for France is going on. These pictures have survived all the fires. The punishment begins. France is involved in the fighting in the Far East and on every battlefield in the world. Following refitting, the Richelieu joins the Allied Pacific Fleet. Many French vessels, in particular the Lorraine, have joined the British Navy in the Mediterranean, preparing for the southern landings. General de Lattre de Tassigny commands the French Expeditionary Force. On the 15th of August, operations similar to the Normandy landings take place with daring and precision. Amid this peaceful scenery, the Germans have built powerful defenses which the French must first eliminate. The enemy could not prevent the landings here either. Towards Toulon and Marseille, French forces of the interior have cleared the enemy off the roads and re-established essential communications, just as they did in Brittany. The French troops secure Marseille. At every step, there is now a name dear to the French, a familiar landscape, a famous monument. Surrender. De Lattre and Montsabert meet again. The civil authorities, Monsieur André Dietelme, the Minister of War, and Emmanuel Dastier, a resistance leader now Minister of the Interior, share the honors of victory with the generals. The end. French Army Film Unit.